this on? Is anybody out there? Welcome, Edgeverse Techcast. You are at the right place. Welcome back. This is where we discuss everything NXP software, tools, and enablement. All those things that you need to work with NXP's processors and microcontrollers. You may notice it's just me, it's just Kyle. Unfortunately, Bridget is a little under the weather, and so I'm running solo. You can choose to sign off and wait for Bridget to come back on the next episode, or you may be surprised. I may have a little treat for you. In the past, I've had an episode or two where I share something that I learned in my past that's, I feel, very helpful, things that have helped me in my career. I thought this would be another great opportunity for me to share something I learned in the past that you may gain from. I'm going to share that with you, but then I'm going to jump into some updates about NXP. So you will get a little insight into the NXP tools and software. But I wanted to start with something that I think everybody here could benefit from. All right. So we always start with a question, but this one's for you guys. Who listening to this podcast is having a bad day? Heck, how many of you think you are having a bad week or maybe even a bad month? Well, welcome to the party. I wouldn't be honest with you if I told you that I didn't have one of the worst weeks of my life a couple weeks ago. I was really struggling. There were lots of things going on, things that I couldn't control, and it really brought me down. It was a challenge. It was one of those things where I started feeling bad about myself. You know, you start whining about every single thing that's around you. Everything that is around you sets you off. You're super frustrated. Well, you know what? It made me think about a lesson that I was taught back in college. Same as the lesson I learned that I shared before about the flea, but this one's even more powerful. This one's about the graveyard. I know, it's a graveyard. Scary, right? No, this is a great story. It comes from another Og Mandino story. This is actually from the greatest salesman in the world. It's Scroll 5, so give full credit to Og Mandino when you can, because it's such a powerful story. But what Og Mandino mentions is, how about when you get down on yourself? How about when you feel like the world is against you? You go walk through a graveyard. My coach used to tell us this all the time. We'd be complaining about college and classes and the stress and the workouts that he was giving us. And he said, young men, why don't you go run up the hill, run up to Cumberland and run through the graveyard? And we're like, are you crazy? And he'd say, no. He's like, if you understand the story that Og Mandino teaches, any one of you that would go walk through a graveyard, why don't you walk through that graveyard and consider who that is buried beneath the tombstones wouldn't give in a minute, in a second, the opportunity to trade places with you. All that you find complicated, complex, and things that are bothering you, they would gladly take your place. It was a huge eye-opener for me because I had a lot of stress. And as I did last week, I still run into those times when I'm just challenged with keeping a positive attitude and putting things in perspective. But I don't think there's anything that could put more perspective on things than walking through a graveyard. Just make sure that every day you wake up, you understand what a blessing and what a gift you have. I think it gives perspective. So when times get really tough, I think it's because we have our heads down. You know, we're running from challenge to challenge. We don't take time to just step back. We need to take that deep breath. We need to find that silver lining. You know, the cup is half full. We need to walk in that other person's shoes. All of you can probably pick your favorite analogy, but we don't take enough time to realize that we are so lucky to be in the situation that we're in, no matter how bad it seems at the time. Hopefully this helps you all. Thanks to Coach Payline. I can't thank him enough for providing me this super small book with Og Mandino on the cover, the world's greatest salesman. I thought he was crazy. I was like, I'm going to be an electrical engineer. I'm not going to be a sales guy. And he said, you're going to need this lesson in life. And it sure has helped me. I think what he was teaching me is that I had to build more than just my strength and my knowledge in campus. I had to build myself up to handle the challenges that the world will provide me mentally, because the world will always have something new to throw your way and something new for you to overcome. So take a walk through a graveyard. Thank Og Mandino. Maybe listen to the podcast while you're out there walking amongst those tombstones, feeling so lucky to be alive. All right, that's enough of the deep Kyle. Now let's get back to the serious Kyle and the NXP tidbits that are going to help you develop with our products and make a better product for the world. Let's start with the MCUXpresso SDK long-term support release. That's right. Max Palumbo was on a few episodes before, and he talked to us about how we now offer long-term patch support for a release of our SDK. It's been exciting. In the last, I'd say about 3 weeks, I've seen a lot of activity in our inbox, and it's talking about these patches that are being applied to the branch. And it's being tested, making sure that the patches are applied to the LTS branch appropriately. Now, based on the criteria that we covered in that last podcast with Max Palumbo, barring any new severe bugs or any PCERT incidents, the release is going to be scheduled for October. And that follows our 2609 release. And as I just mentioned, there are no severe bugs or PCERT incidences that would cause it to be pulled in any earlier. So you may not find this exciting, but if you are one of NXP's customers who develop software, NXP is working on a patch update on the LTS release so that you won't have to. So that is something to be happy about. All right, second thing. Kyle, what in the heck is tool time? Who listening to this podcast used to watch Tim Allen and Pamela Anderson on this super popular ABC television show? It ran throughout the 90s. Well, we have adopted this appropriate moniker for a series of tool demonstrations. You can catch these events that we call Tool Time monthly on LinkedIn. Although I can't match the eye appeal of Pamela Anderson or the humor of Tim Allen, I believe that the 15 minutes will be well spent. Every episode covers a 10-minute demo of a valuable tool. So if you're evaluating NXP or maybe you're an experienced user of our tools, you may learn a new trick or two. We have a new tool time every month. It's usually the third Tuesday of the month. And you can find them on LinkedIn under the NXP Developer Zone page. I'll put the link in the episode notes. They have the links of all the past episodes and any new ones you can subscribe so that you can attend live. Not only that, but you can rewatch the past episodes. They include everything from setting up a secure, encrypted, and signed binary with the SEC tool to generating modern and interactive graphic user interfaces with the GUI Guider tool. So give it a shot. It's worth it. All right. So you might ask, what should be the final topic for me to cover on this Questions with Kyle episode of the podcast? What about Visual Studio Code, Kyle? Hey, I'm glad you asked that. Okay, all right. So MCUXpresso for VS Code is an exciting solution for all of you to evaluate. We did discuss some of the challenges that VS Code users had on our last episode. I thought it would be appropriate to share why I believe users should work to overcome these challenges. Here are 5 benefits that NXP's MCUXpresso has added to the already popular VS Code tool. First, the MCUXpresso installer. We've talked about this. It's within VS Code, and it prepares your workspace to get started with a single click of a big blue install button. You can't get it wrong. If you've tried to manually set up Zephyr or maybe some other tool chains in VS Code, this gets you started quickly. Plus, it maintains your environment. So if any of the tool requirements change over time, it will detect those changes, it will prompt you, and it will update your tool environment to be corrected. Second, the GitHub and SDK integration with the MCUXpresso extension is better than anything I've seen out there. MCUXpresso makes importing the necessary SDK easy. Other VS Code implementations require you to bring your own SDK. In other words, I've used them. You got to hunt down the SDK, find the right one for the board or the device, and after you find it, then come back to VS Code when you're ready. Well, not with MCUXpresso. With MCUXpresso, we've made it easy for you to select. You could use the GitHub SDK, for example. That gives you access to all the source control management that VS Code provides you. We also offer direct access to all the SDK archives that have been popular in the past on the SDK website. Our SDK builder allows people to download those archives. Well, with VS Code, you just select remote archives and it gives you access. You just choose the device or the board you're interested in and presto, it gives you that single archive file for that device or board. Or if you like the bring your own SDK, we have the ability to import an SDK that you may already have on your desktop. This is probably most useful for people who have multiple projects. They don't want to download an SDK, but they want to target one that already exists on their laptop. So plenty of flexibility. You don't need to leave VS Code to hunt down the required software to work with NXP microcontrollers. Okay, number 3. And if you've listened to this podcast more than once, you know what I'm going to say. It's the Application Code Hub. You should already know the benefits of the Application Code Hub within VS Code from all the episodes that we've had covering it. But in VS Code, if you just go up to the Quick Start menu, it gives a quick launch button. And in there, you'll be able to filter down all the applications on the Application Code Hub to the one that you want to work with. Then, if you just choose where you want it to go, you click Import, and the wizard handles the git clone, the project import, and all the tools associated with that project and gets you started quickly. So it's a great addition that we've made to VS Code. Number 4, VS Code is popular outside of MCUXpresso for one reason, and that is it's an excellent environment for editing code. It's fast, so you'd use it as the default editor for any .c file you might have in your system. You just click it and it opens immediately. For code completion, so let's say you're working with a library or some software that you were given with access to IntelliSense and Copilot LLMs, developers now have assistance on how to work with that software and how to integrate and optimize it. Not only that, but it does look pretty. And there are many other benefits that make working on complex software projects much easier to do in VS Code. Okay, what is the last benefit? How about tool integration? That's right. MCUXpresso has made it easy for customers to leverage popular security and configuration tools. So now, with our latest release, you can right-click on a project and immediately open the tool that you want to work with. You go into those tools, whether it's the sec tool or the configuration tool, and all of the complex settings and configurations that you have to set for those devices are optimized. It's made easy through the user interface that our teams have made, and any changes that you make with those tools are automatically saved back into the workspace so that when you close that tool and you go back into Visual Studio Code, all those files are available for you to complete working with your project. So those are the 5 things that I believe MCUXpresso has done to make working with your projects way easier. I use this tool every day, so why don't you take the time to evaluate it for yourself? And heck, you know what? Leave your opinions in the comments of this episode, and myself, maybe even Bridget, we'll follow up on it. Maybe we can discuss the different benefits or challenges that you have found when using VS Code. That wraps it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I started with a serious message on how to maybe brighten your day and move through some challenges. Then I ended with some important updates and reviews of improvements made with the MCUXpresso ecosystem. So until our next episode, when hopefully Bridget is back to help right the ship, keep innovating, maybe take some time to walk through a graveyard, and we'll catch you on the next Edgeverse Techcast.